was actually pretty shit at music theory, but I did learn a lot by, I was just into music. It didn't matter what kind of music, and I naturally found my way into like techno and electronic music. But I was always into alternative and left field music. I was always playing in bands. I think for me, having that you know, traditional sort of musical background of playing in bands, playing like, you know, in punk bands and weird punk electronic hybrid bands, and playing an instrument, drums, guitar, and things like that. I think it helped shape me as a musician. And obviously when I got into, you know, working with computers and synthesizers and electronic music, that just opened up a whole new world of possibilities. But I still draw on my past experience with, you know, traditional instruments. You know, I still use, if I want atmosphere in a track, I'll play a guitar and I'll run it through like Guitar Rig, which is a Native Instruments plugin, and I can make it sound like a synthesizer. I can make it sound like a really beautiful sort of ambient, you know, backdrop. So you can, you know, get great emotion out of classical instruments in a way that you can't with typical, you know, typical synthesizers or whatever. It came very naturally. I started, I don't know, I was always the quiet, I was like a shy, young, introverted immigrant kid from Iran who I was friends with all of the sort of artsy-fartsy people and punk people. And the only way I could express myself is through, I used to draw a lot. So it was always artistic expression that I expressed myself through, and as a medium. And then eventually that, you know, led me into music and discovering new music. And I was always the guy that had the new music and was searching for new music and was playing new music. And eventually I started playing like house parties and then school dances. And even before I was old enough to play in clubs, I was starting to play in clubs. And once I saw that, you know, you can actually earn a living DJing, I didn't know I would ever become successful, but you know, the early days of house music, you would read about people like Frankie Knuckles and David Morales and Masters of Work, Richie Houghton, all these people. They were like, you know, traveling around the world, seeing the world, getting paid for it, making music and performing. So I thought that that could be a good career possibility for me, and one thing led to another, and here I am. I tried to use what I felt represented me at specific points in time. It was a very big challenge because not only did I have to do that, it had to represent my musical evolution, but it also had to tell the story that we were projecting on the screens, and you know, projecting through the technology, the 2D and 3D visual technology. So it not only had to tell my story, but it had to tell the story that we're, you know, showing everyone about, like this futuristic world where you have this man-machine hybrid and it's birthed into a system. And in the beginning, you know, it's got those human qualities, so it still thinks independently, it still thinks that it has freedom, but as it ages, and it ages very quickly and rapidly, it realizes that it's part of a network, you know, part of a matrix or whatever, and eventually is forced to basically plug into the system and conform and do what it was designed to do. So it's about forced conformity. And I've always been the type of guy, the type of artist, the type of human that was always very anti-conformity, you know, always in the way I dressed, you know, challenging authority at every turn, and with my music trying to create an alternative, you know, challenging the status quo with my music. So that's what I try to do with the live shows, challenge the status quo. Yeah. Well, right now I've got 2 retrospective albums coming. This year I'm celebrating 10 years as a solo artist, so there's a big, huge package of everything I've done coming out on K7 in December. Before that, there's, and actually leading up to that is my next single with Miss Kitten, which is going to be on the album. It's called Ride, so it's following up from Exit. But before all that, there's a retrospective album with Oliver Huntman, who I've had a fruitful collaborative partnership with since like 2008. And so that's coming out with every remix that was ever commissioned, plus new remixes, plus the new single Humano in September. And I'm about to start working on a remix for Geyser for Minus, and I'm in Paris on Tuesday doing a performance with a classical musician, a 25-minute performance of something that we worked out in the studio. So I'm just trying to keep myself interested by challenging myself creatively, taking myself outside of my comfort zone. Very important to do that as an artist. And I'm going to finish the year off with a lot more gigs and live shows.